行中俄印领导人的非正式会晤，感谢印方为承办这次会晤所做的精心准备和周到的安排。去年11月，我们在布宜诺斯艾利斯成功会晤，时隔7个月，我们再度在大阪会晤。这是中国、俄罗斯、印度作为具有世界影响的大国和主要新兴市场经济体，致力于维护团结、促进开放、深化合作的重要体现。我期待同普京总统和莫迪总理就国际形势、重大国际和地区问题三方合作深入的交换意见。谢谢，我们先说这些。
धन्यवाद राष्ट्रपति श्री। अब मैं हिज एक्सेलेंसी राष्ट्रपति पुतिन से उनके ओपनिंग रिमार्क्स के लिए अनुरोध करता हूं।
Уважаемый господин премьер-министр Моди, уважаемый председатель Си Цзиньпин, совместная работа в формате Россия, Индия, Китай приносит очевидную пользу как с точки зрения развития и укрепления отношений непосредственно между нашими государствами, так и в том, что касается вклада трех наших стран в решение острых международных и
I would like to highlight that in accordance with the agreements reached at the last meeting in Buenos Aires, cooperation within RIC has revitalized greatly. To see the broadening of trilateral foreign policy coordination, in February our Ministers of Foreign Affairs held the 16th round of consultations. At the same time, we see dialogue developing between our councils of security, our intelligence agencies, finance intelligence agencies, and other agencies. We see close cooperation between scientific, academic, and youth circles. In this context, I would like to highlight that Russia in autumn will host a forum of young diplomats of the RIC countries, and we count on your active participation. It is important that on the majority of issues of global political and economic agenda, the views of Russia, India, and China are similar or very close. Our countries are supporting.
Right, so the Russian President Vladimir Putin, they're issuing his remarks at the Russia-India-China Trilateral. We had the benefit of hearing Prime Minister Modi speak a short while ago. Unfortunately, translation is not available for the comments by the Chinese President. And Ambassador Singh, we could have asked you to translate the Russian President's comments, but then they switched to English and there was a bit of a mismatch over there. But all in all, just looking at these three countries, they're three nuclear powers. They constitute a huge chunk of Asia's landmass and global landmass, and together they're also part of the BRICS and the SCO. Does that, in your view, strengthen or dilute the importance of the RIC?
India has been speaking of maintaining the strategic autonomy of its decision making, and as part of that, having multi-alignment in its foreign policy so that it can take decisions in its own interest and not based on the interest of any other grouping or country. So it is in that framework that even as India has been strengthening its relations with the United States, with Europe, with Japan, it has continued to strengthen relations also with Russia and to bring in positive elements of cooperation in the relationship with China. So we have to look at these various groupings that you mentioned in that framework. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which brings in China, Russia and the Central Asian countries, and later Pakistan and India, is a way for India to consolidate relations with Central Asian countries.
Indeed.
And coordinate the position with China and Russia there. Because in the context of the Indo-Pacific, India and the maritime dimension, India has been working more with the United States and Japan. But in the continental landmass of Asia, US and Japan are not quite present the same way. And therefore, that's where India is trying to see if it can work with Russia and China, including the context of Central Asia. And the Central Asian countries want to have options other than Russia and China, and therefore keen to involve India also in the processes. So SCO has that relevance. BRICS has the relevance that it brings in countries going beyond Asia and just Europe, and brings in South Africa, brings in Latin America through Brazil. Now, the importance of Russia, India and China consultation is that even as China has cooperated with India in SCO and BRICS, it does not like to treat India as being on the same level as itself. It wants to feel that it is a notch higher. But by accepting to consult with India in the framework of Russia, India and China, it is having to acknowledge that India has a certain stature which is of equal stature to itself and Russia.
Indeed.
And from that point of view, I think it's an important framework. And as you saw in the comments made by our Prime Minister and also in the comments of President Putin that I heard, I couldn't quite understand what President Xi was saying.
Right.
There was an emphasis that this grouping is meant to focus on global issues.
Okay.
And global issues of economic, political and strategic significance. So that's the idea, that these three countries, important in the global context, are coming together to look at global issues from their perspective, and so that if there are any unilateral measures emerging from the West, then to see how India can also look at this grouping and coordination to protect its interests.
All right. And in fact, talking about unilateral measures, Prime Minister Modi did bring that up in the informal BRICS meeting.